with a 6F50 transmission. Also, too, it has all-wheel drive. Now, the complaint on this is that when the customer's driving it and he goes around a corner, it hops. And sometimes when he's going forward, he can feel a little bind and or tug going forward. The tech decided to check the tires, make sure the tires were all the same size and the wears were approximately the same. That all looked good. The other thing he did was he wanted to check the transfer case. Now, these things do have a tendency to have oil problems with the transfer cases, that they will thicken up the oil and cause noise and then catastrophic damage to the transfer case. That's not the case on this thing, okay? What happened on this is what Ford is calling a rear drive unit. There we have it right there. This thing is computer controlled, and it also has a viscous coupling inside there, okay? What happens on these things is, besides Ford making this viscous coupling a non-serviceable unit, they also came up with a heat protection to it. Now, this heat protection was designed to where if the trans starts, or the rear drive unit starts to overheat, it will actually shut it down, so it will only work like a two-wheel drive and no longer has all-wheel drive. Well, that can actually fail. When that fails, the viscous coupling on the inside, they tend to burn, and then they will end up binding up, which will not release the rear, the tires, and the rear tires. They will both turn at the same time, and that's why we will get a bouncing going around the corner, okay, or the bind up going forward. So if we look at page 8 and 9 is where we're seeing the rear drive unit on this thing, and on page 10 we can actually see that the differential splines are starting to show signs of fatigue. There's very little oil back here, if any at all, so it is going to tend to either rust out by getting moisture inside there, and then they're going to start to fray. Eventually they're going to go bad. So not only are we going to have a problem with these viscous couplings going bad, we're probably going to have problems with the rear differential going bad also, okay? Another thing I wanted to show you on these things, there is an ID code on them, okay? You're going to get a new ID code when we get a new rear drive unit, or if we get a used one. Preference is yours, okay? But I want to make sure that we write this number down, because it is for the solenoid flow rate inside the rear drive unit. And we have to let the computer know that it's being changed. If you don't let it know it's being changed, it's not going to work. Either it's not going to work correctly or it's not going to work at all, okay? Just showing you some QR codes that you'll see on the rear drive units. We're not going to have to worry about that because that's just basic information that the manufacturers use, okay? That code that I told you to write down is we need to implement it into the computer on this thing. Now, most of us will look at the on the trans side and go underneath function test, and we're not going to find it there. The reason why we won't find it there is because it is underneath the PCM side of it, okay? And what we're going to do is we are going to go under the PCM side of it, look up special functions, and underneath the special functions, you're going to see RDU programming functions. And what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to enter that number in that we just wrote down. And I say write down that number before we go up with the RD unit, because with all of our luck is we'll go to install this thing, we forget to write down that code, and when we go to put it in, it's probably going to be on top of the rear drive unit, so we're going to have to get something up there, a camera or something like that, to write it down. So before we go up with it, just make our life a little bit easier to write that down beforehand. Okay, just something, and as I said, we're going to have to go underneath the PCM to put in that programming. Once we put that in, it should take a couple seconds, boom, good to go. All-wheel drive was working once again. Vehicle's done. Okay, sticking with the Fords. No, this is just something that we're going to see when we're trying to put in the code, okay? Just a little thing I have.
Thank you for watching. For all confirmed fix videos and unlimited technical support, become an ATSG member, your transmission tech solution. Click the membership link below.